Every time I suggested a weekend trip or a new piece of furniture, he'd smile, kiss my forehead, and say, "Let's not touch the future fund, okay? That's for us, for later." For 5 years, I let those words calm me down. I let them quiet the little voice in my head that wondered why later never seemed to come. My name is Claire. I'm the kind of person who likes plans, color-coded calendars, grocery lists, 5-year goals. I grew up in a house where money was tight and arguments were loud, so I promised myself that in my adult life, security would come first and surprises would be the good kind. When I met Daniel, he felt like the answer to that promise. He was gentle, funny, good with kids, and he talked about the future like it was a place we'd already booked tickets to. First the apartment, then the house, then maybe a dog, then maybe a baby. "We'll do it right," he'd say. "We'll build the foundation first." I believed him. I didn't realize he was pouring the concrete in two different directions. This is the story of how I spent years believing my partner was saving for our future, and how a line item on a bank statement showed me his future fund was funding a completely different life I was never meant to be part of. It starts with the sentence that used to make me feel safe. "Don't worry, I've got us." We moved in together when I was 28 and he was 30. I brought my mismatched IKEA furniture. He brought a big TV and a confidence I mistook for competence. I worked as a school counselor. He worked in sales for a medical equipment company. His commission checks were uneven, but sometimes big, and he loved to say, "When I hit my targets, we hit our goals." We agreed on a system. I'd cover the regular bills, rent, utilities, groceries, because my income was steady. He'd put the extra into a high-yield savings account he jokingly named Future Fund. "It's our down payment, our wedding fund, our safety net," he said. "You handle the day-to-day, I'll handle the long game." It sounded fair. It sounded like a team. Every few months, when my student loan payment felt heavy or the car needed repairs, I'd say, "Maybe we should move some money from the future fund, just to breathe a little." He always had a reason not to. "Rates are high right now. We'll lose momentum." The more we leave it untouched, the faster it grows. "We're so close to a real down payment, Claire. Don't sabotage our future because of short-term stress." He made wanting to breathe sound like a character flaw. So I tightened my budget. I cooked at home. I said no to girls' trips. I told myself it was worth it. "We're building something," I thought. "This is what responsibility looks like." Then one evening, after a long, impossible day at school, I came home to find Daniel at the kitchen table with his laptop open and a spreadsheet on the screen. "How's my little superhero?" he asked. "Tired," I said. "My shoulders feel like concrete." He turned the laptop around. "Our future looks less heavy," he said. There it was, a spreadsheet titled Future Fund, Growth, Dates, Deposits, a Growing Balance. 42,000 and change, he said proudly. "We're almost halfway to a solid down payment." My chest loosened a little. He printed the sheet, circled the total, and stuck it on the fridge with a magnet. "Motivation," he said. I kissed him and thought, okay, this is working. We're okay. What I didn't know then is that spreadsheets can lie as easily as people do. The cracks started small. A work conference he forgot to mention until the week before. New clothes that appeared without any discussion. A plane ticket to Vegas for his college reunion that somehow never showed up on the joint credit card bill. "Work paid for it," he said when I asked. "Perks of being top performer." I wanted to believe him. I'd spent years believing him. So I added each little doubt to an invisible drawer in my chest and slammed it shut. The drawer finally burst open over a tiny stupid thing, a password. One Saturday morning, he headed out to the gym and asked me to order groceries online so we could cook later. "The card's on file," he said. "Use the joint account." I logged in. The website had updated its security, so it asked me to confirm the last 4 digits of the card and the issuing bank. I went to grab the card from the drawer we kept them in. It wasn't there. I checked my wallet. Nothing. I checked the bowl by the door. Empty. I texted him. "Hey, where's the debit card for the joint account?" No response. I shrugged and used my personal card instead. Later that day, he came back with a smoothie and a smile. "How was your workout?" I asked. "Good," he said. "Why?" "Because the card for the joint account is missing," I said casually. "Do you have it?" Something flickered across his face. Then it was gone. "Oh, yeah, I used it for gas," he said. "Must have left it in the car." He went outside, came back 2 minutes later, dropped the card in the bowl by the door. I almost let it go. Almost. But that flicker, a moment of panic before the explanation, stayed with me. That night, after he fell asleep on the couch, I picked up the card and looked at it. It wasn't the same card. The last four digits were different. The bank logo was different too. Our joint account had always been with Oak Ridge Bank. This card was from a bank I'd never heard of. My stomach dropped. The next day, while he was in the shower, I opened his laptop. We shared it. At least that's what I thought. The login screen popped up with his username auto-filled. I hesitated for half a second, then I typed his password, the one he'd told me the first year we moved in, when we were still in the stage of no secrets. The desktop was clean, too clean. A wallpaper of some beach we'd never been to. Only a few icons. He had a folder on the desktop called Work Stuff. I opened it. Inside, there was a subfolder named FF Statements. My heart leapt. Future Fund, I thought. Okay, maybe I'm paranoid and this will prove everything is fine. I opened the most recent statement. The header made my mouth go dry. It wasn't Oak Ridge Bank. It was the same unfamiliar bank from the card. The account name read, Future Fund D. Walker. Just his name. Not Daniel and Claire. Not joint savings. Just him. The balance was a lot lower than $42,000. It was $819. I clicked back through older statements. 6 months ago, $12,000. A year ago, $27,000. 2 years ago, $29,000. The line didn't go straight up like the fridge spreadsheet. It waved. Up, down, up, down. Deposits followed by withdrawals with vague memos. Travel, personal, wire. The future fund was not growing steadily. It was being drained, refilled, drained again. I searched the laptop for the spreadsheet he'd shown me. I found two versions. One called Future Fund, Real. Another called Future Fund, Growth, Fridge. The fridge version was a fantasy. Clean upward lines, no withdrawals, no dates on the columns that matched the bank statements. The real version told a different story. He was putting money in and taking it out almost as fast. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely move the mouse. I clicked his browser history. It was annoyingly clean. Then I remembered he liked to brag about being careful online. He used incognito windows for privacy. I almost closed the laptop. Then I saw one bookmarked page he'd forgotten to hide. Skyline Residences, furnished apartments, short-term lease. The photos showed a sleek one-bedroom downtown with floor-to-ceiling windows, a view of the river, a very particular couch I recognized from a selfie I'd seen on social media months earlier. The selfie hadn't been his. It had been posted by a woman I didn't know, tagged at Skyline Residences. Daniel had said, "Oh yeah, she's just an influencer my company hired for a campaign," when it popped up in my feed. I clicked her profile, public. Rows and rows of curated photos, coffee shops, hotel lobbies, mirror selfies, and there, 3 weeks ago, a picture of her legs on a very familiar couch, captioned, "Love surprising him after his big wins. You deserve the world. #Future Fund. Future. Fund." I felt the world tilt. I scrolled. Little hints everywhere. So proud of you, Dee. Our little escape. Grateful for a man who invests in our future, not mine. His future fund wasn't for our home, our wedding, our someday baby. It was paying for a second life, a second apartment, a second version of him who didn't have to split bills or listen to me talk about classroom budgets and kids' anxiety. He had built a parallel reality with my sacrifice as part of the scaffolding. For a few minutes, I just sat there, staring at the screen, hearing nothing but my own pulse. Then something inside me flipped. The girl who had swallowed her doubts, who had said, "It's fine, it's for the future," 100 times, went quiet. Someone else stood up. I closed the laptop, put it back exactly where I'd found it, and I made a plan. The next week, I acted like nothing had changed. I packed his lunches, I asked about his meetings, I laughed in the right places. At night, when he fell asleep, I used my phone to take pictures of everything: the fake spreadsheet on the fridge, the real statements on his laptop, the Skyline Residences listing, the influencers' posts. I pulled our lease, our so-called agreement about finances, the messages where he'd said, "I'll handle the future fund, you focus on the day-to-day." I booked an appointment with a lawyer and sat in her office, clutching a folder that felt heavier than any textbook I'd ever carried. After I finished explaining, she asked one question. "Do you want to fix this relationship, or do you want to get out without being destroyed financially?" I swallowed. "Both," I said. "But if I have to choose, I want out." We moved quietly. She helped me open my own high-yield savings account in a different bank. I started redirecting my paycheck there instead of our joint checking. I stopped paying for anything that wasn't in my name. My card paid my part of the rent, my groceries, my gas. The rest of the household expenses I'd been floating, I let them hit the joint account. Within a month, Daniel started to notice. Hey, can you transfer some money to the joint account? He asked one evening. Bills are piling up. I thought the future fund was strong enough to handle a rough patch, I said lightly, watching his face. He smiled too quickly. Yeah, obviously I'm just moving things around, cash flow stuff. You know how it is. I do, I said. That's why I pulled the statements. His smile died. What? He asked. I pulled the statements, I repeated. From the other bank. The one with the account called Future Fund, D. Walker. The one that's been paying for skyline residences and surprise visits from someone who tags you as our little escape. He went white. For a second, I almost felt sorry for him. Then I remembered my overdraft fees from last year because I was keeping our future safe. I can explain, he started. No, I said quietly. You can't. You can talk. That's different. We had the kind of fight you don't come back from, the kind where every sentence pulls another brick out of the wall. He said he never meant for it to go this far. He said he needed somewhere to relax without pressure. He said I had changed, that I was obsessed with security, that with her he felt alive. With her you feel like you can be irresponsible, I said, because she doesn't know who's actually paying for your stability. I didn't throw things. I didn't scream. I just laid out the facts and then laid out my timeline. I've already spoken to a lawyer, I told him. I've already separated my income. I'm not going to burn your life down. I'm not like you, but I'm also not going to keep subsidizing your double life. He tried crying. He tried begging. He tried promising to close the account, to end the other relationship, to refocus on us. But once you've seen your future written in someone else's hashtag, it's hard to pretend there's a version where you forget. We separated within 2 months. He kept the Skyline apartment for a while. I know because the selfies didn't stop, but the captions changed. Less future, more living in the moment. The future fund never recovered. According to our disclosures, it barely had anything left by the time we officially split. I walked away with my own savings, my job, my dignity, and the knowledge that trusting someone with your future doesn't mean handing them the keys and hoping they don't take a detour. Now, when I think about saving for the future, I don't picture a man managing a secret account. I picture myself, logging into my own dashboard, watching numbers I actually control. Sometimes, late at night, I still scroll past the influencer's page. She's moved on to a different skyline now, different couch, different him. Maybe she found her own version of the folder I found. Maybe she will. All I know is this. He taught me that a future fund can be a lie, but he also taught me something else. I am perfectly capable of building a future without someone who treats my sacrifice as their spending money. And this time, the only secret account in my life is my own.